Can you hear me okay in the back?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good, good. So how to gain a superpower. My name is Roberta. I am a new iOS developer, and I'm also a co-founder of an organization called GDG Montréal. And I'll just start by explaining a bit what we do. This is our website, gdg.com. We are basically an organization where we're a skills incubator for people who are learning to code, and we're not a boot camp. We basically create a community around online courses. And we don't necessarily give classes, but we give workshops and study jams. And we do more mentoring than we do teaching. And we're very focused on project-based learning and peer-to-peer learning. So that sort of gives you an idea of what we do. Basically, what we do is blended learning, which is a mix of online and face-to-face learning. And it's been shown that when you mix online and face-to-face, it's better than just having one of those two elements. It gives you an extra boost, and so it's a very motivating way of learning. We're set up at WeWork, which is a co-space that we got set up in the beginning of March. There are sponsors now, so we're really happy about that. And so this is where we're set up. We have our workshops here. We have our almost daily meetups here in the afternoon, or if you want to just hang out and study, you can come and see us. The other thing that we do is the Android study jams. This is a volunteer-driven initiative from Google. It's funded by Google. And it basically gives you a chance of learning how to code or learning how to develop an Android in the space of, say, 5 weeks. And it's really amazing the amount of stuff that people get done, and what they can accomplish is really, really cool. We have about 46 people registered right now, and about 43% of them are women, so we're really happy about that. We have about 15 spots opening up again in 2 weeks. So if you're interested in joining us and learning Android programming, just come and talk to me after. Yeah, that's that. So why superpower? Basically, when you don't know how to code, it kind of seems like something that you kind of need a special ability for. You need to be a special kind of person. You need to be a geek. You need to be a nerd. You need to be a developer. And when you actually do end up learning how to code, it kind of feels like you have this new ability you didn't have before, and it's very empowering. It's like a whole world opens up to you. And so that's why I think superpower is a good analogy. What I wanted to do is talk a little bit about different kinds of research that's been done that can help you either learn better or help others learn better. Before I start with that, I had a question. Who here has been learning to code online? Oh, so a few there. All right, cool. And who has been mentoring other people who are learning how to code? Very cool. Okay, cool. So the first element I want to talk about is motivation. You kind of have to figure out what people's motivation are. Why are they learning how to code? How are they going about it? And all that stuff. And there's 2 people who did a really good research about this. One of her is Heidi Graham-Halverson. Her book, 8 Motivational Challenges, which is basically 8 because she kind of builds up 8 different types of profiles based on 3 elements. What your mindset is, what your motivational focus is, and whether you have high or low confidence. And it's kind of important to know where people are at, or where you are at, to know how to help them better, basically. I'll start with mindset, which is a very important element. Most people will have heard about the research that Carol Dweck did. It's like, basically she was doing research where she got kids to do a puzzle, and these puzzles were getting increasingly more difficult, and she was praising them either on their ability or on their effort. So if they did a puzzle right, she would say, oh, you're did so well, you must be really smart. Or she would say, you did so well, you must have done a really big effort. And she found out that people who are praised for their smarts are actually, they lose their motivation at some point. If it gets difficult, they will just give up. Whereas if you praise them for their effort, they will just not give up until they really can't figure it out and they need help. And so that's really, really important. And if your mindset is if you have a fixed mindset, it's where you are basically kind to give up easily, then it's very important to find out how you can switch that. And one quote from the book that I wanted to read because it was really like mind-blowing to me. Students who saw a test as an opportunity to learn a new problem-solving skill actually performed better when you made the test harder by frequently interrupting them. Those who were instead trying to be good, that is, trying to show how smart they were rattled by the interruptions and performed significantly worse. And I was really like amazed that people would perform better if you interrupt them all the time. How can this happen? So I was really blown away by that. So it's very important to change your mindset if it's not already a growth mindset. And this, I have really worked on this. I really think I've changed a lot over the last few years. How do you do this? It's basically just trying to keep aware of the things that you tell yourself or that the person that you're mentoring, what they keep telling themselves, and rephrase them by using different words like learn and improve, develop, grow, become, progress over time, etc. And even just as simple as say something like, I'm not good with computers. The first time I tell them, like, you're not with computers yet because I'm here to help you out and we'll figure it out. Just add yet at the end. And the second element in those different profiles that she builds up, Heidi Halverson, is motivational focus. And again, there's two types of focus, and neither of them is bad or good. They're all equally valid, and you need to actually make sure that in your team, if you're building a team or in a group, that you have people from both, because it's very, they're very complementary. First is promotion focus, where people are very focused on like opportunities, maximizing the gains, and making sure that we're learning new things, and people are very eager, very enthusiastic about trying something out, and they will say yes very easily to starting a new opportunity. Sometimes they'll have a lot more to do, and sometimes they'll have to learn to say no a little bit. They tend to work a lot faster because they just want to get it done. Whereas if you have people with a prevention focus, they really want to make sure that they don't get stuck in the deep end, or that we're making sure that we minimize our losses. There are always people who can count on to be there for us if we need them. If they say they'll be there, they're a lot more motivated by negative feedback rather than positive feedback because they want to improve. So just tell me what I did wrong and I'll do it better next time. They'll be a lot more hesitant to say yes to different opportunities. And they just want to make sure that they don't make mistakes. So there's a lot more analytical and concrete kind of people, and the promotion-focused people are a lot more better at abstracting thinking and synthesizing. So it's important to have both types, not just one, neither because it's better than the other. It's important to understand the other side as well. So we need to be friends, basically. Then the third element is confidence. And this is very important because confidence is a necessary ingredient for reaching difficult goals. Having it or lacking it will largely predict success or failure. And it is really like that. If you don't have confidence, you can have all the skills in the world. It will be very difficult for you to be successful in reaching your goals. Now, why is this? First of all, psychologist Oliver Dora, he says confidence is basically self-efficacy, which is the belief that you can successfully execute whatever behaviors are necessary to bring about a particular desired outcome. Basically, I believe I can do it. And It's a much better predictor of success than objective measures of ability, such as job aptitude tests. It's up to 1.5 times better in general. And this is really, like, if you're hiring people, you need to be aware of this. Like, that skill is a lot less valuable than somebody who is confident about being able to reach the skills and being able to do the job. Believing that you have the right skill is more important than simply having that skill. So if you have a skill, it's actually important to believe that you can actually do things. And so how to build confidence? The number one source of confidence is past experience of success. So if somebody has very little confidence, you have to try to build up little bits of success stories. Like, just get them started on something, and if they're having a really hard time wrapping their mind around what programming is about and like having to do, even if it's just playing with little blocks and making a loop going, just help them out by having one little success story and one after another, and help them build up success that way. There are other sources of success, but this is like the most important one. You can get other examples from the book if you like. So the second book I wanted to bring up is Make It Stick, which is basically a book with very interesting research about how we learn. And most of what I read in this book is completely counterintuitive. Like repetition, forget about repetition. It's the worst way of learning anything. It's the least effective way of learning something. And other things like that. Learning is deeper and more durable when it's effortful. When the mind has to work, learning sticks better. Which means that if you're learning, you have to make it difficult. And usually you don't want to do that. You want to, you're cruising, you're doing one video after another, you're doing a course after another. You finish the course and you're like, well, actually I'm still not sure I know how to build an app. And is this because you went through it way too fast? And you didn't stop, and like you have to stop at regular points. Every time you learn a block of knowledge, you have to kind of test yourself. And every time you're stuck, you get frustrated. Instead of switching to something that's easier, just stick with that frustration and go through it, because the point where you have frustration, that's where you're actually learning. And it's very important to not switch to something, because we have a tendency to kind of, well, I've been switching back and forth between different courses until I realized this is, I just have to, this is how you learn, by the frustration. And we're also very poor judges of when we are learning well and when we're not. When we're just cruising along and we're getting our stars, we're getting our, when you think you're learning, often you're using short-term memory. And it's only when you need to kind of get your learning into longer-term memory, that's the frustrating part, and it's very hard to judge when you're really learning. So it's very counterintuitive. Basically, when we learn, it's what they discovered in this research, is we do it in 3 steps. First, we encode the new information. This is where the short-term memory comes into play. We kind of get a grasp of what it's talking about, try to understand what it means. And then, when we consolidate, this is where we make connections with knowledge that we already have. And you cannot learn something without already knowing the step that came before it. You can only attach new information to old information that you already have. So that means that if you have to explain something to somebody, make sure that you understand where they're coming from, why they're not understanding it, because they might be missing crucial information. So find out what they do know and see if you can tack it onto there. And then the third step, which is where you will actually be mastering the information, is when you retrieve the information. This is where you are actually learning. The retrieval of information also keeps the information up to date. It keeps it relevant to other information. So every time you retrieve something, when you retrieve knowledge, and you use knowledge in the real world, this is where you are really applying your learning. And this is why project-based learning is so important because you will apply it in the real world right away. It will be relevant right away. So yeah, this is why I make such a big emphasis on that. Like I said, repetition is one of the least effective strategies. It's only a short-term benefit. The reason it's such a trap is because we believe that, like our brain believes that we're actually learning it because of the huge short-term benefit we get from it. So what are a few learning strategies you can apply? Focus on spaced out repeated retrieval rather than reabsorbing the material again. So rather than rereading or rewatching the video, try to see what you can remember from it and just fill in the gaps from there. It's been shown that if you do a quick practice test after each block of information, you have a 50% greater recall after a week than not having them now. So just doing one quick test after, say, a 10-minute video or something like that, like what can you remember about it, just gives you that much extra boost. And the more you practice, the better you get at it. Another strategy is to solve a problem before you know the answer. Again, just come up with a product and start working on it. Last thing I want to talk about is input goals versus output goals. So what are these? Like output goals, actually, what we usually think of as goals. An output goal could be like, I want to run a marathon in a month, say a year from now. Okay. So that's an output goal, and this acronym SMART gets used a lot. It's something that somebody came up with in like in '81 or something like that, but it's never actually proven effective. So like forget about it. Okay. What you should think about more is input goals. The difference with input goals is there's something that you're already able to do. So say, for example, instead of saying, I want to run a marathon, I say, I want to run 3 times a week. And every week I want to increase my mileage or kilometers. And so that's something you can do right now. You can put your shoes on and start going for a run. There's nothing stopping you from doing this. It's a lot more focused on the present, on the process of how you go about it. It's very clear action you can take. And it's habit forming. And habits are really, really important in learning. This is something that I learned when I was doing, if you want to learn more about habits, I can really recommend BJ Fogg, who has a course about tiny habits, where tiny habit, like instead of flossing your teeth every day, it says just floss 1 tooth after brushing your teeth. And just do it every time. And at some point, like, well, I've got the floss out anyway, let's just do one mouth, you know? But you don't have to, you can just stick to the 1 teeth. It's the habit that's important. And when I did this course, I was like, the realization I had was the less you depend on willpower and motivation, the more successful you'll be. And this is kind of another mind-blowing thing. Because I was like beating myself up over not flossing my teeth, you know. And yeah, so these are the references that I mentioned. I've just I threw in one bonus, Punished by Rewards by Alfie Kohn, which is basically the effect that having rewards and praise and all that has on people and kids. You have to be really, really careful because it can actually backfire and you can lose people's motivation. I don't know if anybody is here with Virgin Mobile, but if you pay your bill on their website, they congratulate you. Yay, good job, you paid your bill. It is super insulting. So be very careful with praise and how you bill it out. Yeah. So that's it. Any questions?
So you mentioned how repetition was the worst way of learning, but habits are formed by repetition. So
yeah, when I say repetition, I basically mean repeating the same material over and over. Like, for example, if you want to grasp a particular material, don't just read it over and over. Also, if you're practicing an instrument, for example, yes, there's repetition involved, right? You're learning a violin, you have to practice. But don't just have the sheet music and practice the sheet music. You have to practice from memory. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Other question? Nobody?
Oh, yeah, actually, yes.
faster this time.
I got it.
Yeah, so do you have like a Twitter account we can follow you on? Because you seem really interesting.
Thank you. I have stopped tweeting. But I am on Facebook. I'm a bit more. Yeah, it's good. At some point I flip-flop from Twitter to Facebook. So I'm on Facebook. You just find my name. We also have a page.
Where can we find the slide deck?
I can post it somewhere.
That would be amazing.
Or slide them again.
Yeah.
We'll give the slide of every speaker if they want, but we didn't ask them before. But
No,
so we'll send you an email or post it on the website, Women Tech. So
I can put it on my Facebook as well. My Facebook is public, by the way, so you can just follow me, write me. I use it as Twitter.
Yeah. That's your name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
other questions or yes?
Okay, thank you. So you mentioned that being confident of having a skill is more important than having the skill. How do we convince a potential employer from that?
You have to ask the employers that. I don't know.
I think it's the motivation that you give and say what you're feeling about it and say, I love to learn, I'm motivated, I will, I think.
I think people see when you're enthusiastic about something, when you're motivated, when you're into it. Smile. Yeah.
You're not in a rush.
There's a few tricks, by the way. There's like for example, PJ Fogg. He said every time you do something silly, well not silly, but every time you do one of your habits, even if it's a silly, small, tiny habit like flossing one tooth, just go yay. Yay! You know, because you just did something. Your brain doesn't know if you just scored a 3-pointer or if you just flossed your teeth. Just go yay, and it will boost your confidence. Another thing is do the superpower pose. You know, that's another trick. They say also that I learned is like when you wake up and you wake up in a fetus pose, make sure that you lie on your back for a while, like just stretch out a little bit before you get up. It seems to have an effect. I don't know why, but I don't do that, but I mean it's just one of those things.
Thanks for your presentation. It was very interesting. I have a question for you concerning your biography, basically. Where are you coming from? Like, you seem to be interested in psychology for maybe kids because of pictures. You started Pitonneux, but probably you're not making money really out of this.
No.
Just curious to know more about you.
Yeah, so I started in IT and I would say 1998 or something like that. I have a background in translation. I have a translation degree. But I started working in IT after I finished school. I got a job in Amsterdam as a localization engineer. And localization basically where you adapt the software and games, video games and websites to local target markets. And as a localization engineer, you basically work in all languages that they want to be available in. You do all the technical work and kind of the in between. People are very non-technical and people are highly technical, like developers. So we kind of bridge between and collaborate with the project manager. So at some point I started doing that in Montreal. I did that for quite a while. My last job was at Ubisoft in the game industry, and it started out as a dream job, and it turned into a nightmare, unfortunately. And at some point I lost my job, and I was kind of happy about that. I took a break, and at some point I started learning to code, and went to see Gary, and I got started with Ruby on Rails.
Rails bridge.
Yes, yeah. And at some point I realized, well, what I'm really interested in is more like mobile apps, so I started doing more iOS. And now like a few weeks ago, I scored my first iOS contract. And I've been at it for a while. Like I probably could have finished it in like 6 months or so, but I was so busy starting digital noon because I felt there was a gap for people who were learning to code, and because there were all these boot camps, but there were also all these ways of learning online, and I felt there was a need for just continuing. So in the next month or so, we're going to register as a non-for-profit, and we will be making money. For now, it's very volunteer-driven, but at least we're no longer, the money's no longer coming out of our own pockets. We're getting funding from Google and from WeWork, and we have a great location. And we've just been growing explosively over the last few months.
Hi. Given the third sort of critical component of learning is application, and since I went to school and there's a bazillion things I haven't really applied, I guess it could be argued that I haven't learned those things. So while I was spending those hours at school, not learning things, what would you call that?
I don't know. It's like you learn all the time, right? There's never a moment where you, even like having a daughter, like I'm learning a lot from her. How to be a mom, like all these things. There's never a moment where you're not learning, even though some of it might be a bit, a waste of time. Like, I would never go back to school to learn, for example. I don't think that's the best place to go if you want to learn. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question.